Are you stuck in the friend zone? Is the friend zone something that happens to you frequently? If so, this podcast is for you. So listen up.
Welcome to the LoveOpenly podcast. We're Tim and Lidia, dating and relationship coaches from LoveOpenly. In each episode, we discuss all things to do with the modern day dating and relationships. Our goal is to give you practical tips and strategy that you can implement in your dating and relationships in order to finally get mastery over your love life.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to start with the actual experience I had about me friend-zoning a guy, how it happened. I just remember really recently I directly friend-zoned one guy I met from Tinder. So what happened was we agreed to go on a date, and we went on the first date, and I quite liked him. You know, we had on that first date, we had a really nice conversation. We took a walk in a park, and we talked about a lot of issues, even quite personal ones, even for the first date. And I really enjoyed having a conversation with him. But I wasn't really sure. I mean, I could see that he really enjoyed it too. I mean, I liked him as a person, but I wasn't sure whether I was attracted to him sexually. So because I liked him as a person, I just felt kind of bad, not to be clear about my intent or anything. So after the first date, he sent me a message and we swapped a few messages, and I just felt like I owe him being clear about how I feel for him, so that there is no hard feeling or misunderstanding about what we each other want.
Yeah.
So I just told him, look, I really like you as a person. I'd like to get to know you a bit more, but I'm not really romantically or sexually attracted to you. And usually I can tell that immediately from first date. So I just wanted to make it clear so that you don't feel like I'm messing around with you or something, So that's really recent experience of me friend zoning a guy.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that we need to point out here then. So what is the friend zone? So, I mean, there's different definitions of this on the internet, but generally it usually applies to men, and it usually applies to situations where men are pursuing women and they're getting turned down, and then they end up in a situation where they're just friends but they want to be more. And so when would we say this happens? Has there been any situation in your life where you have been on a date with a guy and then he's after you've been on dates with him, sort of kind of gone a little bit over the top, or being frustrated with you? Or
if I just try to remember my personal experience, I think there are some times when I didn't know that they had feelings for me. And I wasn't really sure they might be interested in me sexually or not, but we were just hanging out fine and had a good time, but they didn't really express themselves to me. So after some time I was just okay, it seems like they're not really interested in me as a woman, and they seem to just be fine hanging out with me. And then after few times of hanging out or whatever, if I reveal more about somebody I'm dating or something, they kind of freak out. And by seeing their reaction, I realized, oh God, they had feeling for me. But I didn't really know. Yeah,
so I mean, this is generally when friend zoning happens. It generally happens when one person doesn't necessarily know that the other person has interest in them. And that's kind of like a communication problem. It happened to me when I was younger. There was a girl the first girl that I fell in love with when I was about sort of 14, 15. And I didn't express the fact that I was into her until about 2 years after. But, there was obviously, we were flirting. This is at school. We'd sit next to each other in class or something like that, and we'd flirt. And there was some sexual tension between us for sure. But I never actually told her I was really into her. And so when I actually did, it kind of came to a surprise to her. And it wasn't I didn't know, because I knew that I was basically in love with her, but I just couldn't tell her. So, I mean, a lot of the time, the friend zone happens when the guy, for whatever reason, hasn't told her Now, there's two different sides to this, because he might think that he's made himself really clear. So you might be listening to this, if you're in the friend zone or think that you're in the friend zone, maybe you think that you've made it clear to the woman that you're in that you're into her, and maybe she doesn't know. Maybe you know that that's the situation, and you're thinking, well, I need to tell her, but I don't want to change it. I don't want to ruin the friendship that we have. And maybe you both know, and maybe you both don't want to interrupt the situation. So I mean, that's generally the situation where friend zone occurs. You're kind of in this situation where neither party truly knows where they stand with each other. So this brings up another question which I wanted to ask you, and like, you know, you see this online a lot, like, can men and women truly be friends? What do you think?
I personally think that yes, woman and man can be friends. I think that like man and woman can be friends. Like, I know it from my own experience, because I have male friends who haven't really been involved sexually at all, and I'm pretty sure like some of them I will never like get involved like sexually. But it doesn't mean that like some of the male friends like who I have, I don't really see any like romantic potential at all. You know, so but yes, like in general, I think that it's possible for a woman and man to have friendship. But I think like how men see friendship and women see friendship could be like different here. I wonder, it might be related to why women generally like don't get friend zone. I think like in my experience with a man, especially if it's in a romantic setting, like dating or whatever, it's like a really clear cut for them. They're either attracted to me and they're not going to really talk to me. But for a woman, it's not like that, you know? If I like the person as a person, maybe not much as a man, but if there is still some kind of interest in whatever way, I'd like to still have them as friends. So it's not like, oh, I'm attracted to you, I'll continue to go on a date and consider developing a relationship with you, or nothing. It's not like that. So, somehow, if I do that, if I kind of put them in that like gray area, sometimes I become a kind of bitch.
I mean, they treat you like one because you did that?
No, like, for example, like, the example, just, you know, like what you explained about how friendzone usually happens. I had that kind of experience, you know. So they didn't really express their interest in me much. And it wasn't like I wasn't attracted to them at all, but I wasn't like really strongly attracted to them to the level where I wanted to make a move first, right? So I kind of let it happen in a way, just hang out with them. Even if I end up just being friends with them, that's still fine. And if there is something developing, that's also great. I want to see where it goes. I just want to have a good time with them. And then when not date, but like I kind of hung out with them several times. And after that, you know, if I kind of gave up on developing anything because they didn't express much, and, you know, just, you know, seeing another guy or whatever, they freak out and just get angry at me and say, you know, I replied to every single message you sent me and I did this and that, and, you know, you obviously knew like I was into you, like you taking advantage of it. But I was like, what? Like, where is it coming from, you know? You know what I mean?
So you're surprised?
Yeah.
I think what you're saying about it being different between men and women, I would actually disagree on that point. Okay. I've had instances where I have been on dates with women and then I, for whatever reason, didn't want to take it further, and they lashed out at me. They were like very sort of kind of hateful, and
okay.
you know, it does happen both ways. So yeah, I mean, so I've had it from I've friend zoned women, and there has been moments when I've been genuinely interested in having a friendship with a woman, and she's basically turned me down, told me to get lost, and blocked me and stuff like that. So I mean, it's clear that some people believe that men and women can be friends, and some people don't, and it really just comes down to your mindset. So anyway, I mean, if you're in a situation where you are in the friend zone, what is going on there and why, you know? So what do you think that a guy who could potentially be in the friend zone, what do you think he should do?
You know, just listening to what you just described, like your personal experience of you friend zoning a woman. I think I had that kind of experience happen to myself,
Right.
like me being friend zoned by a man. So if I think about both cases where I friend zoned the guy, whether intentionally or not, and when I was friend zoned, I think in both cases the common thing is like when I was friend zoned, I wasn't expressing my attraction to a guy. And when I friend zoned the guy, they didn't. I mean, obviously there are other exceptions, but I think most of the times it wasn't really clear that the other person was attracted to the person. The romantic interest wasn't really expressed. So I think I would say, like, you know, if you feel like you just, you know, keep being friend zoned by a woman over and over, it happens over and over, like Tim just said before, you might really need to question whether you really make your intent clearly, because even if you might think you already expressed it, you know, the woman might, you know, not really know, like notice it.
Yeah, so this might be hard to hear for some guys that are listening to this. They might not want to hear this, but in some cases, being put in the friend zone can happen because of you. I mean, in a way, you're kind of putting yourself in the friend zone if you don't let them know that you're into them. So, I mean, this is a big problem. It's a communication problem. As I said before, we have this issue of clarity between two people. Are they friends? Are they something more? And they haven't discussed it. And there's some underlying sexual tension, perhaps, but it could be that that's being misread, right? It could be that you haven't been on a date. It could be that you're just friends and you've met as friends and you're now potentially trying to transition into something else. I mean, in my case, I've got a lot of these, but after the first girl, the second girl that I fell in love with actually was my friend to start off with. And we were friends for maybe like 3 years or so. And I didn't even know that I was in love with her until just one day it occurred to me. I was like, oh dear, I don't want to swear. Oh no, I'm in love with this girl. And it was horrifying. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Because it just, I didn't know how to deal with this feeling at all. I was like, I have to do something. So, you know, so I mean, you've got to be careful here, because if you're in a situation where you're not expressing your intent, if you're not expressing your sexual desire for somebody, especially at the beginning, then you're going to end up maintaining something and it's going to turn into a friendship. So in that sense, you potentially are putting yourself in the friend zone. So in this situation, what do we do? Well, you have to express your sexual attraction. You have to express your interest in somebody. And it might be scary. It might be that you're worried about the outcome or losing their friendship. But then if you don't do anything and you end up in the friend zone, then isn't it kind of ruined anyway? I would say, because you're kind of living a lie between you two. You're masquerading and you're pretending that there's some other situation than there actually is, and that can be pretty horrific. Having been through it myself. In some ways at the time, I would say that, you know, part of me kind of enjoyed not talking about it and not revealing my interest, because then I got caught up in the fantasy of it all. And I was like, you know, I could imagine how it could be, and I could dream about it. And there was no risk of anything ever going wrong. But then at the same time, there was no chance of anything going how I wanted to either. And so inevitably, if you are in that situation, the only thing that you can do is let them know how you feel.
And I think it's also like strongly to do with the one-itis issue, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of...
What's one-itis, just to let our listeners know, if you don't?
Having this strong crush and attachment to this one person and just not be able to get over that infatuation you have with that person.
Yeah, I mean, basically it's just a complete, total obsession with one single person, whether it be a friend, a lover, or it could be anybody, to be honest. I mean, like young girls tend to like have one-itis with pop stars. I know that you told me at one point when you were younger you had a similar thing.
Yeah, like some kind of fantasies.
Yeah, so I think it's actually a pretty normal aspect of developing your, your love in terms of like love, your ability to love in the world. It's just a normal transition process that you go through where you might have a fantasy over somebody, whether it be a man or a woman. But one-itis is where that fantasy kind of becomes debilitating and you can't really function in your life anymore because they just take it, the fantasy takes over.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it really kind of makes you blind about other opportunity you might, have with other women. Like, for example, in this case of friend zone, a lot of men have told me that they're really afraid about ruining the relationship they have, like the friendship they have once they make a move, reveal how they feel for that woman.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if she rejects you, you can still have other female friends or even other women you can, develop feelings for. I know it's really hard to just get over that feeling once you develop it really strongly. But the more you're like attached to that person and the more you kind of get stuck into this fantasy you've been holding on to, like Tim said, Tim is saying he kind of in a way like actually enjoyed like having this feeling for somebody
for years, even after she rejected me. I mean, not saying you're going to get rejected, but in my case I did get rejected, and I still held on to that fantasy for a number of years afterwards, and it really did get in the way of me living my life and meeting other women. So I can understand the challenge there. Like, when you're really into one person and you put that one person on a pedestal and you see that person as like everything, it becomes hard to actually think that maybe there could be a life with somebody else. But there is, and there could potentially be. And it might be that you feel that you don't have the skills to meet somebody else. And we have a course for that, as we said at the beginning, loveopenly.net/give me confidence if you want to learn those skills. It's a free course. But anyway, it doesn't take over the fact that you still have to express how you feel.
Just think of it from the bigger picture. It's not really just about this one woman, one friend you're attracted to. Like in your life, whether she agrees to, like after you express yourself, like whether she agreed to just go on a date with you or not, whether she rejects you or not. In your life, there are gonna be like this woman you're gonna meet. And there might be rejection and there might not, but you need to like kind of practice taking this courage to express your intent to the woman, especially for a man. It's a lot harder, or like we kind of taught not to do that first, and we kind of taught to wait for a guy to make the move first. So unless you express your intent quite clearly to a woman, it's unlikely that woman will do it first, so
I think that's a really important point, and it's something that like, I think like if you're in this situation where you have a one-itis or where you're really pining over someone, you kind of overlook the fact that nothing's going to change if you're relying on the woman to do something for you. I mean, yes, we live in modern times, and yes, it does sometimes happen where the woman makes the move, but generally, no. Generally, it doesn't. Generally, it's up to the guy. So, with that said, like, I think we can move on here and sort of outline the points of how do you actually solve this friend zone problem. So we said you have to express yourself. So yes, the first thing is you have to let them know that you're sexually attracted to them.
Not indirectly with like all these subtle signals. It should be
not like any kind of like Hollywood movie thing with a great grand gesture. Like that's really horrible and awful. Don't do that. Simply let them know that you think they're attractive. That's it. And the second thing that you should do. So hang on, let me back up there. So what would you like if a guy was into you? What kind of things would you want him to say?
It's just like really simple thing. Just letting me know that they have feelings for me and they're attracted to me and they find me attractive.
Okay. So I mean, I think guys can do this in different ways, and it's really down to your personality. If I think a girl is attractive, I will literally just say I'm attracted to you. I think you're, I like this about you. I like that about you. So you can do it how you want, but the main thing is that you actually have to do it, right? You have to say that you like them, right? And that's the first thing. And then the second thing that you have to do is you have to actually ask them out. You have to say, like, you know, I like you and I want to go out with you. I want to go on a date with you, right?
That's really, really important, because sometimes, like, men who I hang out with, like, as friends or whatever, even if they say, like, you're really cute, you're pretty, or I really like this about you, or like, you have a nice body or whatever, sometimes I'm like, okay, I appreciate that compliment, but what does it really mean? Like, is he like trying to hitting on me, or is he just saying it to make me feel good, you know? But then after that, if he's like asking me, you know, I'd like to go on a date with you or something, then it's pretty clear to me that, you know, there is something happening here.
Yeah. So you have to be, you're the, like, as the man, I hate to say this, but you're the man, so women expect you to be direct about these things. And, you know, if you say that you like them and you ask them out, then everybody's clear. You have communication, you have the clarity there. Everybody is on the same page from that point, right? So then the third thing is that it may be that after you've done this, that you've let her know that you like her and that you've asked her out, whatever the situation, whether you were friends before, whether you weren't, she may say yes or she may say no, and you might get rejected. So then the question is what do you do with the rejection? How do you deal with it? So what I want to say here is, if you are in that situation, it's okay to say, let's stay as friends, okay? And there is a reason for this. Like, you know, it's a lot of people online would disagree with this, but being friend zoned by women isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's not necessarily the end of the world. And that is because having different women around in your life is actually good. And, like, obviously some people might say, you know, men and women, they can't be friends. I disagree with that. I think lots of men and women can be friends, and I think that the more friends with women you have, the more friends as women you have, then the better it is that your life will be. And also the stronger chance that you're actually going to meet somebody that you like and want to go out with. And it might be that, you know, the women that are in your life as friends will bring other women to you that you might be into.
When we just said it's okay to be friends with women who rejected you, we're not saying just lingering there, like hoping that she will somehow change your mind. We don't mean that, you know. We don't want you to torture yourself, like just putting yourself into that position, just hoping for something, you know, to be different and change. Once she rejected you, after you clearly express yourself, no means no. So I think it's like, she might change her mind, but I think it's really unlikely that that would happen. But why being friends with women is important is, you know, especially if it's somebody who you felt attracted to, they could just give you so much perspectives, and they can teach you so much about how you can relate to women. You know, not like directly teaching through words, but what I mean is by spending time with them. Like, for example, you know, like I said, I still have some ex-boyfriends and like guys who I've been on a date with, even who I've been kind of like quite close to. I still have some of them as my friends because I really like them as a person, even though it didn't, for different reasons, even though it didn't develop into something more serious. But what I do with them is, when they go on a date with another woman and when they have their struggle or issue, when things don't really work out or whatever, because I was once attracted to them, or I was once kind of like on a date with them, I can give them a lot more detailed, direct feedback about what can they do and how I would feel as a woman. And even if like the female friends you have don't really give you like direct feedback, it's just learning to relate to women and just being able to spend time, being comfortable spending time with women itself, like, will really help you to relate to other women you're going to meet in your life.
And another thing that helps there as well is having lots of women in your life as friends makes you more attractive to any new women that you meet, because you're a guy that is okay being around women, and that's appealing to other women, you know. Social proof, we call it. So you know, don't think that if you ask out somebody that you're interested in and they say no, that you have to basically then just see them as like an object and get rid of them. You don't have to do that. So I think that more or less concludes what we wanted to say about friend zones. Is there anything you wanted to say as well?
I would just want to add, like, we teach it and emphasize it a lot in our course, the confidence course, like Tim mentions every time from the intro.
That's by the way, that's at loveopenly.net/give-me-confidence, free video course. Check it out now if you want it.
So we give you a lot more detailed, like, process and structure about how you can develop confidence. But the part of it is being able to express yourself. Like, don't worry about rejection. Don't worry about what happened. You'll be really surprised how just being able to express yourself and practicing that yourself will give you this huge boost of confidence, like, you know, basically how you feel about yourself, you know, and that actually makes a guy really sexy, just having that courage. So, like, for example, you could be just mumbling or a bit nervous, or you might not say it, like, perfectly, but still, like, seeing a man being able to express himself despite the fear, that's what makes women feel like they're sexy and, you know, they're courageous. So that takes practice. So if you have feeling for somebody at the moment and you're afraid about being rejected, or you're afraid about ruining the friendship, or if you feel like you're just being stuck in friend zone over and over, focus on practicing, you know, expressing yourself, your intent to woman, because even if it doesn't work out well this time, it's definitely going to help you to improve your confidence and how sexy you are.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Love Openly podcast. If you like our podcast, hit subscribe, comment, and leave a review on iTunes. If you want to know more, check out our website, loveopenly.net. Be sure to also check out our free confidence course to master your core confidence to get a girlfriend at loveopenly.net/give-me-confidence. See you on the next podcast.